Welcome back, team. How to conduct the risk assessment with ISO 27001. What are the steps we should follow? This video includes the risk identification, risk analysis, risk evaluation, and risk treatment. Uh, how to how to map the risk, all these risks in terms of ISO clauses. Today we will discuss in this video. Let's begin the session. So here, as I can see, this is agenda for today's discussion. We will mainly focus in 6.1.2 and 6.1.3. Information security risk assessment. Okay, this consists of RI, risk identification, risk analysis, risk RA. Okay, and risk evaluation RE, and information risk treatment means how can we achieve how can we resolve all these risks, right? What are the types of risk we should ensure? And 6.2 6.3 are what are the planning and steps should taken to achieve our goals. Okay, before starting, let's discuss some of the basic terminologies like vulnerability, threats, likelihood, and impact. What is vulnerability, guys? Well, vulnerabilities are the weakness or loopholes in a particular systems uh, from where the attackers can gain the access. Okay, and the threat are the uh, actionable in nature, and these are responsible to exploit the vulnerabilities. Example: we have a web server having low configuration and the weak password. Okay, here is a hacker. Okay, he observed that yes, this is the web server having all these weaknesses. So in this example, this attacker is a threat. Okay, and weak password and low configuration are the vulnerabilities. So guys, threat means actionable in nature. Okay, who is responsible to exploit the vulnerabilities is our threat. In this example, hacker is the threat, and low configuration and weak password are the vulnerabilities. What is likelihood? Likelihood are the combination of vulnerabilities and threat. Okay, uh, this is the configuration of the web server having low configuration and the weak password. So the likelihood is more because there is a high chances of exploitation of vulnerabilities. So this is how the likelihood comes in picture. Impact. Impact means, guys, in this example, for example, uh, organization hacked, right? And there was a losses of financial. That means the impact is high. If organization have losses only a few data which has no means, right, which can acceptable to organization, that means the losses of risk, the loss of data would be acceptable. Means the impact is low. So this is the process how we can conclude vulnerability, threat, likelihood, and impact. Let's move to the next slide. Okay, what is risk identification? Risk identification means how can we identify the risk? By identifying the asset. Okay, by identifying the threat, by identifying the vulnerabilities. So under risk identification, these are the options: asset asset identification, right, threat identification, and vulnerability identification. Under risk analysis, we can check what is the level of impact after identifying the assets. Okay, uh, in risk analysis, we can conclude two ways. Number one is qualitative analysis, and another is quantitative analysis. Okay. Okay. Qualitative analysis is preferably done for non-financial, and quantitative risk analysis would be preferred for the financial risk. Okay, so qualitative means we can just list all the vulnerabilities in low, medium, and high category. And in quantitative, risk can be arranged uh, in a value of losses, example 1 2 3 4. So generally in information technology, we prefer the qualitative risk, which is low, medium, high, and minor. Okay, a risk evaluation, what is this? Okay, risk evaluation generally deals in risk capacity and risk acceptance. Okay, what is risk treatment? Risk treatment means how can we treat the risk? So we can treat the risk by doing the risk avoidance, okay, by doing the risk mitigation, okay, by doing the risk transfer, and by doing the risk and by doing the risk as acceptable. Okay, we will discuss all these risks in coming slides. Okay, before going further, let's discuss what are the types of assets. Assets are of two, example tangible and intangible. Hardware, servers, people, employees, contract vendors, mobile devices, network devices are the tangible because we feel it and touch. However, in intangible, data, process, service are intangible assets because we cannot feel and touch. Okay. Now the risk assessment having two types. Number one is asset based and second is event based. Asset based means this assessment focuses on identifying the risk for each individual assets exist in organization. This process starts with the listing of assets, example web server, database, laptops, example identifying threats and vulnerabilities for each and assessing the risk. Okay, next is event based risk. Event based risk is also called the scenario based risk, which evaluates a risk by real facing world incidents and attack events. It focuses on how a security events might happen and which business processes may affect. Example, ransomware attack, security threats, business or any insider threats. Okay, but the question arises which risk assessment is more effective. Okay, we have asset based risk and we have event based risk. Okay. Okay, so before doing any assessment, let's ask yourself these questions. What is the size and complexity of organization? Okay, if your organization is more complex, okay, go for event based because if we have 1 lakh assets, we cannot do the asset based risk assessment because of the complexity of environment. Okay. However, if your organization has very less number of assets, for example, we have only 10 assets or we have only only 20 assets, example, let's go for the asset based assessments. Second question you should ask, are your risk mostly centered on specific assets or business specific? Okay, if specific assets risk is there, then go for the asset based, and if business specific risk is there, go for the event based. Third is ask these questions: do you face high external threats like cyber attacks, etc.? Okay, then recommend this for VAPT, regular VAPT we have. Okay, and recommend for ISO certification, recommend for international standards like NIST and COBIT and all. Okay, let's move. What is likelihood? Okay, likelihood means chance or probability that a specific threat will occur within a given time frame. It represents how likely that it is a potential threat will materialize. Okay, likelihood is informed by historical past or experts' comments. Let's take an example here. We have a web server having low configuration and weak password. Okay. That means the hackers are always seeing options to invade this web server because of its low configuration. That that means the likelihood is high. If likelihood is high, then impact is automatically being high, because if invader trying to attack 10 times, okay, then at least one time it will impact a severe impact on the organization. So impact is the potential consequences or effects on the organization if the risk events occur. Impact is determined by industry standards, organizational context, and regulatory requirements. It measures the severity of the potential damage or the loss to the organization. Okay, next slide is very important. How to calculate the likelihood and impact. Okay, guys, this is the link which I had already published a matrix. Okay, risk matrix. Okay, try to go for it. Must visit link thesis. I will provide this link in the description section. Let's discuss. So how to calculate the likelihood? That means how to calculate the chances of happening, and how to calculate the impact by doing the expert's judgment. Okay, organization to consult OEM experts to have more visibility over vulnerabilities in market. Next, we can check the historical data. Historical data have two options. Number one is by reviewing the past record incidents, and secondly, uh, keep an eye on a pattern of attack happening across similar firms. Okay, so this is the likelihood cases. Now come to the impact part. Industry standard, right? Organization to refer industry standards like TISAX is required for auto sector. Organizational context, every organization have their own security measures. They better know how to prevent PII, for example GDPR case. Okay, regulatory impact. Okay, reputational impact and revenue. Coming to the next slide, likelihood criteria. Okay, how can we rate our organization in terms of likelihood? Okay, if an event is very rare to happen, example natural disaster, okay, mark as level 1. If any event is likely but possible, example 2 to 5 years, example 0-day attack, okay, mark as 2. Event might happen but not frequent, occurs once in a year, for example phishing, mark level number 3. Expected few times happen per year, example malware functions due to unpatched systems, mark as 4. Okay, and multiple times in a year, for example unauthorized access events on public facing website, mark as 5. Okay, so you can rate that, you can rate like this. Okay, you have to more cautious for option number 3, 4, 5 because of the more likelihood. Coming to the next slide. Okay, how asset based risk assessment looks like. Here is a pattern I had published. Example, web server hosted on AWS or I mean any cloud. Okay, what is the threat? It's unauthorized access by external attackers. What is the vulnerability? Weak password and no multi-factor authentication and no captcha. Likelihood is medium, impact is medium, risk is high. Why the risk is high? Because unauthorized access by external attackers, weak password and no FA, even no captcha was there. That's why the risk is high. Okay, what is the existing control? Okay, basic password protection. How it's links to ISO? It's 921 user access management and a 941 MFA implementation. Okay, second example we have in terms of asset, laptop. What is the threat? It's loss, theft of assets. Okay, what is the vulnerability? No encryption in place for a hard disk drive, HDD. Okay, likelihood is high. Why this is high? Because if associates having a business travel, for example they are doing the 10 travels per month, okay, that means they have 10 numbers of chances to lose the asset. And if any one time, if this happens and attackers can gain the access to the laptop or the hard disk, then all organization data would be at risk because no encryption was in place. Impact is medium. Actually impact should be high here. Okay, Risk level is high. Okay, what was the existing control? It's basic password protection. And how it's mapped to the ISO? It's asset handling and disposal of assets 823 and 1126. Okay, next is risk treatment options. Okay, what are the options of risk handling? Okay, number one is risk avoidance, eliminating the risk by removing the case, by removing the cause. Okay, what is the example? Initially, a startup is potentially growing in automotive sector very good, but trying to capture the market in BFSI sector as well, but might be decided not to enter due to the complex and other formalities. Costs are very high. Okay, so this is the risk avoidance. That means they are avoiding to come in the BFSI sector because of the high risk. So risk avoid. Risk mitigation. Okay, mitigate the risk by applying controls and measures. Example, implementation of risk by applying MFA and CAPTCHA. Okay, for unauthorized access. Example, weak password again. Okay, low configuration for a web server. Okay, we know how to implement all these to ensure uh, the less likelihood and less impact in our organization. Okay, we had implemented the MFA and CAPTCHA as well. So whatever we have implemented, the controls and security measures is our risk mitigation plan. Next is risk transfer. Okay, by hiring the outsource. Okay, by hiring the outsourcing and applying insurances is our risk transfer. That means we are transferring the risk to the external party. Okay, example, purchasing cyber insurance to cover potential financial losses from data breaches. Very nice. Last, risk acceptance. Acknowledging the risks, acknowledging the risk without doing any actions. Example, accepting minor vulnerabilities having minimum impact and fix very easily. Okay, what is this? Example, an hacker attacks in an organization. Okay, and the impact was, for example, a very minimal data, but there was no impact on the organization knows that it might happen, so organization decided that no problem, we can afford the data loss. Okay, we have no means if this data would be lost, so they had accepted the risk. So guys, this is all about the today's sessions. Which section you like the most? Okay, if you have any other topic you wish to cover by me, okay, just just put your comments in the comment box. Thank you so much. Kindly subscribe, hit the bell icon, and don't forget to share. Thank you so much. Take care. Bye.